Welcome to English with Podcast, where we help you improve your English skills and tackle common challenges. I'm Sarah, and with me today is my co-host, Mike.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. Today, we're discussing a topic that many English learners and even native speakers struggle with, overcoming the fear of public speaking.
Absolutely, Mike. This is such an important skill, whether you're giving a presentation at work, speaking at a conference, or even just participating in a class discussion.
That's right, Sarah. So let's dive in and explore some strategies to help our listeners become more confident public speakers.
Great idea. First, let's talk about why public speaking can be so intimidating. Many people experience anxiety, sweaty palms, or even a racing heart when they have to speak in front of others.
It's true. I remember when I first started teaching English, I was terrified of speaking in front of my students.
Really? You seem so confident now. What changed?
Well, I learned that feeling nervous is actually quite normal. In fact, our first tip for overcoming the fear of public speaking is to accept that it's okay to feel nervous.
That's a great point. Acknowledging your feelings can help you manage them better. Can you elaborate on why accepting nervousness is important?
Certainly. When we try to fight or suppress our nervousness, it often makes it worse. By accepting it, we reduce the additional stress of trying to eliminate these feelings. It's like saying to yourself, I feel nervous, and that's okay. I can still do this.
That's really insightful, Mike. I think many of our listeners will find that helpful. Now, what's our second tip?
The second tip is to prepare thoroughly. This means researching your topic, organizing your thoughts, and practicing your speech multiple times.
Absolutely. When you're well prepared, you'll feel more confident in your ability to deliver your message effectively. Let's break this down a bit more. How would you suggest our listeners go about preparing for a speech?
Great question, Sarah. I'd recommend starting with thorough research. Make sure you understand your topic inside and out. Then, organize your main points in a logical order. Create an outline that includes an engaging introduction, clear main points, and a strong conclusion.
That's excellent advice. And what about practice?
Practice is crucial. I suggest practicing your speech out loud multiple times. This helps you get comfortable with the words and improves your timing. You can practice in front of a mirror, record yourself, or even present to friends or family.
Those are great suggestions. And here's a bonus tip for our English learners. Use this preparation time to look up the pronunciation of any challenging words. It's a great opportunity to improve your vocabulary and pronunciation.
Absolutely. And don't forget to prepare for potential questions. Anticipating what your audience might ask can help you feel more confident and prepared.
Excellent point, Mike. Now let's move on to our third tip, visualize success.
Can you elaborate on that, Sarah?
Of course. Visualization is a powerful technique where you imagine yourself giving a successful speech. Picture yourself speaking confidently, the audience engaged and responding positively. This mental rehearsal can help reduce anxiety and boost your confidence.
I love that. It's like creating a mental rehearsal of a positive outcome. How exactly should our listeners practice visualization?
Great question. I recommend finding a quiet place where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths to relax. Then, imagine yourself in the place where you'll be speaking. Visualize yourself standing tall, speaking clearly and confidently. Picture the audience listening attentively and reacting positively. Try to engage all your senses in this visualization.
That sounds really effective. How often should someone practice this visualization technique?
I'd suggest doing it daily for about 5-10 minutes, especially in the week leading up to your speech or presentation. The more you practice, the more natural and confident you'll feel when it's time for the real thing.
Fantastic advice, Sarah. Our fourth tip is to focus on your message, not yourself.
That's interesting. How does that work?
Well, when you're too focused on your own performance, it can increase anxiety. Instead, concentrate on the valuable information you're sharing with your audience. Remember, you're there to provide something of value to them.
That makes sense. It takes the pressure off you and puts the emphasis on your content. Do you have any specific strategies for shifting focus from oneself to the message?
Absolutely. One effective strategy is to think about your audience and what they need or want to know. Ask yourself, how can my message help or benefit them? This shifts your focus from your own performance to the value you're providing.
That's excellent advice, Mike. It reminds me of a quote I once heard. Great speakers are not those who are concerned with how they look and sound, but those who are concerned with how their audience feels and learns.
That's a powerful quote, Sarah. It really encapsulates what we're talking about here. Now, let's move on to our fifth tip. Practice deep breathing exercises.
Yes, deep breathing can be incredibly effective. Can you demonstrate a quick breathing exercise for our listeners?
Certainly. Here's a simple one. Breathe in slowly through your nose for a count of 4, hold for a count of 2, then exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 6. Repeat this a few times before you speak.
That's great, Mike. I can already feel more relaxed. How does deep breathing help with public speaking anxiety?
Deep breathing helps in several ways. First, it slows your heart rate, which can reduce feelings of anxiety. It also increases oxygen flow to your brain, which can help you think more clearly. Additionally, focusing on your breath gives you something concrete to concentrate on, distracting you from nervous thoughts.
Those are significant benefits. When would you recommend doing these breathing exercises?
You can do them anytime you feel nervous, but they're particularly helpful right before you're about to speak. I often do a few deep breaths just before I walk on stage or start a presentation.
Excellent advice. Now let's move on to our sixth tip. Start small and gradually build up.
This is crucial. You don't have to jump straight into speaking at a large conference. Start with smaller groups or even practice with friends and family.
Exactly. As you gain confidence in these smaller settings, you can gradually work your way up to larger audiences. Can you give some examples of how our listeners might apply this tip?
Sure. If you're an English learner, you might start by speaking up more in your English class. Then you could volunteer to give a short presentation to your classmates. As you get more comfortable, you might join a public speaking club or volunteer to present at a community event.
Those are great suggestions. It's all about building your confidence step by step. Our seventh tip is to know your audience. Understanding who you're speaking to can help you tailor your message and feel more connected to them.
Absolutely. When you feel a connection with your audience, it can significantly reduce your anxiety. How can our listeners get to know their audience better?
Great question. If possible, try to gather information about your audience beforehand. What are their interests? What's their level of knowledge about your topic? What are they hoping to learn? This information can help you tailor your content and delivery to better engage them.
And if you can't get this information beforehand,
in that case, try to arrive early and mingle with some audience members before your speech. This can help you get a feel for who they are and what they're interested in. It can also help you see them as individuals rather than a faceless crowd.
That's excellent advice. Now, for our eighth tip, use positive self-talk.
Oh, this is a good one. Can you explain it to our listeners, Mike?
Of course. Positive self-talk involves replacing negative thoughts like "I'm going to mess up" with positive affirmations like "I'm well prepared and capable of doing." It's about being your own cheerleader.
That's powerful. Our mindset can really influence our performance. Do you have any specific positive affirmations you use?
I do. Some of my favorites are "I am confident and well prepared," "I have valuable information to share," and "I am capable of communicating effectively." I encourage our listeners to come up with affirmations that resonate with them personally.
Those are great examples. I think it's also important to practice these affirmations regularly, not just right before a speech.
Absolutely, Sarah. The more you practice positive self-talk, the more natural it becomes. Our ninth tip is to focus on your body language. Standing tall, making eye contact, and using natural gestures can help you feel and appear more confident.
And it's not just about appearing confident to others. When we adopt confident body language, we actually start to feel more confident too.
That's right, Sarah. It's a case of fake it till you make it. Can you share some specific body language tips for our listeners?
Certainly. Start with your posture. Stand up straight with your shoulders back and your head held high. This not only makes you look more confident, but can actually make you feel more confident too. When it comes to gestures, use them naturally to emphasize your points, but avoid fidgeting or making repetitive movements.
What about eye contact? I know that can be challenging for many people.
Great point. Making eye contact is important, but it doesn't mean staring intensely at one person. Instead, try to make brief eye contact with different people throughout the audience. If direct eye contact feels too intimidating, you can look at people's foreheads or just above their heads. It will still appear as if you're making eye contact from the audience's perspective.
Those are excellent tips, Sarah. Now for our final tip. Remember that practice makes progress.
I like that you said progress and not perfect.
Yes, the goal isn't perfection. Every time you speak publicly, you're improving your skills and building confidence. Can you elaborate on why this mindset is important?
Absolutely. When we aim for perfection, we often set ourselves up for disappointment. Public speaking is a skill, and like any skill, it improves with practice. Each time you speak, you learn something new about what works well and what you can improve. It's about continuous growth rather than achieving a perfect end state.
That's so true. And for our English learners, this applies to language learning as well. Every time you practice speaking English, whether it's in a public speaking context or not, you're making progress.
Excellent point, Mike. Now, let's quickly recap our 10 tips for overcoming the fear of public speaking.
Those are all excellent strategies. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Sarah?
I think we've covered a lot of ground today, Mike. I just want to remind our listeners that everyone can become a confident public speaker with practice and the right mindset. It's a journey, and every step you take is progress.
Absolutely. And remember, improving your public speaking skills will not only boost your confidence, but also enhance your English language abilities. It's a win-win situation.
That's right. And here's a final thought for our listeners. Don't be afraid to seek out opportunities to practice your public speaking. Join a public speaking club, volunteer to give presentations at work or school, or even start a YouTube channel. The more you practice, the more comfortable you'll become.
Those are great suggestions, Sarah. Public speaking is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Exactly, Mike. Well, that brings us to the end of today's extended episode. We hope you found these tips and detailed explanations helpful in overcoming your fear of public speaking.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends who might benefit from these strategies. And remember, we'd love to hear about your public speaking experiences. Leave a comment and let us know which tip you found most helpful.
Yes, your feedback helps us create content that's most useful for you. And if you have any questions about public speaking or English learning, feel free to ask. We might address them in a future episode.
Thanks for listening to English with Podcast. Keep practicing your English and your public speaking skills. Remember, every time you speak, you're making progress.
Absolutely. Until next time, goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.